You think we got some problems in this country? No kidding. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And speaking of inspire, I was inspired by a gentleman named Robert Reich, R-E-I-C-H, an older gentleman. And if I'm calling him older, he's got to be older than I. But in any case, and I saw a little video where he was a star, and he made some unbelievably good points. And I want to go over some of those with you in a little bit more detail than he did, so that we can really get a hold of this thing and start solving it. You know, the first thing that needs to be said is that leadership matters. And I'm not just talking about the government. I'm talking about business. I'm talking about your family. I'm talking about in our schools. Leadership matters, but it especially matters in government. Because, you know, we like to think of ourselves as an entrepreneurial people, but you gotta have some government when you have a nation of this size. I mean, if you don't have, you know, if you have a very small group, you know, like a family, yeah, you have some government, you have some rules, but you don't have a police department, you don't have an army. But we are big enough where these things matter. So government matters. So my point is, you need to get out there and vote the next time we have an election, because if your voice is not heard, as they say, don't complain about the results. Now, we are living, as I said in my last video, in a statute of limitations. Not a statute, a statute of limitations. This administration right now is unbelievably focused on historical artifacts, and instead of something that is killing our own people, where we see the cases rise, where we see people congregate in clearly an area where that shouldn't be the case. What is going on? You have to ask, the first question you have to ask your mind, you have to ask yourself is, who's leading this? Who's leading this catastrophe? The things that promote the virus are the things that are being promoted by the people in charge. Huh? Now, let's go over the strategy that's being used by this administration to, quite frankly, get itself reelected. That's, you know, that's the number one thing on their plate right now. The virus isn't, that's clear. Let's go over the things that they're focusing on. All right, the first thing they do, and when I say they, I mean he and his group of Confederates. Oh, bad word, Confederate. But the first thing that they do is they deny that there's a problem. Hey, we got this puppy under control. How long have we heard that? We've heard that since, what, the middle of February? The end of January? That hey, we've got 15 cases. Pretty soon it's going to be down to 0. We got this bad boy under control. All right, I can see saying that once. I can't see saying it when the state of Florida took 4 months to get 100,000 cases, and then in just the last month alone, they have another 100,000 cases. One of the things that a leader has to do is to look at the data. We're not looking at the data. And please don't tell me that 99% of the cases are harmless. They ain't. They ain't harmless. I mean, that's clear. We're losing people every day, and we have no concept of what the long-term problems are going to be from people that get this virus. So let's pay attention to the numbers. That's number one. Second thing that this administration is doing is to promote a miracle cure. All right, what I can't even say, hydrochloric, whatever that drug was that he was talking about, or drinking chlorine, or getting the ultraviolet light, or hey, when the warm weather gets here, this puppy's going to be history. Come on. There's not going to be a miracle cure. Best evidence from the experts is this thing is going to, it has no conscience. It just goes from person to person to person unless you put up the shield and block it. We're not doing that. So promoting a miracle cure is the strategy of hope. The strategy of hope is what a little kid has when he hopes he's going to get a particular Christmas present. It's not a strategy to be employed when trying to save the lives of people in a country where close to 130,000 people have already perished. Next strategy, attack the experts. Okay, all you have to do is just say, hey, this guy said this guy said that. How do you know that this is the case? How do you know that? So attacking the experts, not only attacking the experts, but keeping them undercover. I mean, when people were asked, when the medical experts were asked, when the Surgeon General were asked, when the people that are at the head of these committees, the medical committees that the government has, and they were asked, hey, do you really think it's harmless to 99% of the people? Hey, do you really think it's a good idea to have people gather in a big rally like we had in Tulsa, like we had at Mount Rushmore, like we had on the lawn of the White House, especially without masks? Do you really think that that's a good idea? And these people would look into the camera like I'm looking into the camera, and they'd say, well, clearly there's a danger, but you know, you want to follow the advice of the state that you live in, of the powers that be that are telling you what to do. Come on! You're in a position of national leadership. Would you please, as my old boss used to say, and pardon me, take a look down there and see if you have a pair. Get up there and talk to the people and tell them the way it should be. Tell them the way it is. Because the people that are in charge are letting this run completely amok. The fourth strategy is to deflect attention. My goodness, you know, one of the things that really bothered me in the 2016 election between Hillary and the Donald was whether our statues that we have out there are going to be able to be protected. That's really critical in a time where people are getting sick and people are dying. We're talking about law and order. We're talking about the radical left. Those are things, okay, I can understand talking about those in a political campaign. I can't understand talking about them with the intensity about the radical left. My goodness. But that's just me. All right? But we're talking in a time where 50,000 new people are getting the illness day after day after day, where people are waiting in line all day to be tested, and then they can't get tested. I mean, it was a couple of months ago, said, hey, anybody that wants to get tested can get tested. That's a bunch of crap. All right? Anybody that wants to get tested cannot get tested. Some places that's true. The only places that's really true is in the White House. And if testing is not that important, why are the people in the White House, in the orbit of the president, being tested on a regular basis, day after day after day after day? Tell me why. All right, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, except the gander ain't getting jack. So we need to make the testing available to everybody and stop saying like, hey, slow down the testing, because if you test, it shows more cases. Guess what? The numbers dictate that it's not going in the right direction. Proof of that is that in places like Florida, places like Texas, the number of people that show positive for their test results is like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, maybe even less than that, 1 out of 3. I mean, the numbers are just staggering. And yet, the numbers in New York City, where that was the epicenter, that was like trouble city a couple of months ago, is down to less than 1%. 1%. We can live with 1, but the rest of the world can't. That's why they don't want people from the United States to come visit. Your numbers are too high. And what they're doing in New York is they took their time, they did it right, they paid attention to detail, people wore masks, and people stayed vigilant. And the governor, the leader of New York and New Jersey and Connecticut, kept it on a front burner. Hey, this is what we have to do. Hey, this is what we have to do. Hey, this is what we have to do. But we're not hearing that from the federal government. In fact, there's absolutely no federal policy whatsoever. Why is that? We're deflecting attention. He's deflecting attention to other things that couldn't be nearly as important as sickness and the loss of lives. And the final thing, the strategy that they're using, is to make it about freedom. Hey, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If I don't want to wear a mask, I don't want to have to wear a mask because I'm free. They're taking away my constitutional rights. That is a bunch of crap. Once again, do people wear seatbelts? Do people go through the airport and have their bags checked? When the safety of the whole is affected, it's not about freedom, it's about survival. The game we're playing is the game of Survivor. And boy, if I could vote somebody off the island, I would be doing that right now. Voting them off the island. But our government is set up so you can't do that. The judgments have got to be in question. I'm pleading with you, understand the strategy. Denying there's a problem, promote a miracle cure, attack the experts, deflect attention to other subjects, and make it about freedom. Please, please, let's insert the common sense factor here. Please. And because we will never end a rant on a philosophical note, please get out there, wear your mask, and charge! I'm Eli's dad.